Brittney Sykes on the move. What does it mean? Instant reaction for both what the Seattle Storm are getting and also what the Washington Mystics are getting. Is this one of these instances where everyone gets what they want? I think so. Jackie Powell here to talk about it. Locked on Women's Basketball Special Trade Edition starts now.
You are Locked On Women's Basketball, your daily podcast on women's basketball. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Alert, alert, alert. Just moments ago, the Seattle Storm acquired Brittney Sykes, recent All-Star, along with, just Brittney Sykes. What does Washington get in return? The Washington Mystics, Alicia Clark, Zia Cook, and one of Seattle's 2026 first-round draft picks. The 9 basketball has been able to confirm it was Seattle's natural pick. Jackie Powell is here. We had just finished up with the normal podcast, and here's a special bonus edition talking about a big move, probably not the last one, which it's a fascinating week here in WNBA circles. Jackie Powell, instant reaction. Who won the trade? You can only pick one. You can pick both. It's okay. I pick both.
I mean, I think both win, but I also think the Mystics got exactly what they wanted. Seattle, I don't know how much this helps them to get where they want to be, but at the same time, they still have 2 first rounders in the 2026 draft. So I think it might be sort of saying, okay, if we can make a deep run through the playoffs, great. If we can't, we still have assets.
One of the coolest things about this trade deadline is there are a bunch of teams within the league who have very clear and obvious win now or win later. And it's not muddled the way it so often is. At the same time, there are more expiring contracts than there have ever been in the history of the league. So you put all that together and a lot of compelling, interesting moves here along the way, right? So that's number one. Number two, Brittney Sykes is one of the biggest difference makers on the market potentially here from a Mystics team that, again, has been overachieving, but arguably for its long-term future, it wasn't even better for them to make the playoffs this year. So from that perspective, was making sure you get a 2026 first the thing they should have been using as their sort of barrier to making a deal?
Oh, absolutely. And I can confirm that was the asking price.
Right,
that was people around the league were saying that Washington wanted first rounders. That's what they wanted, and they would not take anything less. And so it's just really interesting to sort of see, who won the Sykes sweepstakes. I have said on this podcast probably multiple times that the best fit for Brittney Sykes would have been in Minnesota. Yeah. Because what Minnesota needs is they need someone who can just create and who can sort of get to the rim, something a little different. They wanted that in Diamond Miller, but Cheryl Reeve did not give her many opportunities to take on that role. Mm-hmm. Seattle, they needed shooting. And so when I look at this, okay, sure, Sykes is a better backcourt player that you can pair with Skylar Diggins-Smith, but Brittney Sykes is shooting 31.8% from 3 this year. That's fine, but that's not what the Storm need.
The thing about Skylar Diggins is that she has the ability to improve where Brittney Sykes is going to be able to get her shots. And so I think that is significant. That is worth noting. She's also playing for a team of veterans, so there's going to be a lot of continuity that goes along with it. And so, bottom line is I see it as something that could potentially improve Brittney Sykes' overall efficiency going forward. At the same time, is it enough, right? We just talked about this on the main podcast of Minnesota and New York are so stacked. And then you've got this next group of contenders where you've got Phoenix, where you've got Seattle, where I'll put Indiana in there when they get Caitlin back. assuming, again, they have enough time to fully incorporate her and get where they need to be going. And don't forget Atlanta, who I've been talking about since the preseason and is right there a half game out of that number 2 spot. They're all potential contenders. The deadline's not over yet, but did Seattle put itself into that New York, Minnesota group yet?
No.
Okay. That's where I think they are too. I want to talk about how Washington won this trade, and with apologies to the 2 players they brought in, it doesn't involve either of the 2 players for how they won this trade. So back with Jackie Powell in just a minute, talking about the special Brittney Sykes trade bonus edition of Locked On Women's Basketball. But first, Locked On Women's Basketball is brought to you by 5 Hour Energy. And 5 Hour Energy gives you the chance to fuel up and turn it up with bold grape, ginger, and lime flavor. Tastes like your favorite golf drink, minus the alcohol. It is a quick, energizing shot. Thank goodness there's no alcohol involved. My golf game is bad enough sober. But whether you're sinking birdies, or in my case, picking up the ball and saying, you know what, I did my best, or just making memories with friends, this one's a hole-in-one for your energy game. So how do you get it? Go to 5hourenergy.com today. That is the number 5hourenergy.com, and use my promo code LOCKEDONGolf to receive 20% off your order. This offer is only valid until September 30th on one order and cannot be used with other promotions. The code is not good on subscription orders. Whether you're meeting up with friends or trying to turn 18 holes into 36, get the energizing boost you need to power through. Order transfusion-flavored 5-hour energy shots today. Howard Megdal, Locked On Women's Basketball, back here with Jackie Powell, talking about Brittney Sykes to Seattle. But then here's what I want to talk about. It's the DC part of this. And just by the way, full disclosure, Monumental Sports and Entertainment has a minority investment in the Next, and by extension, Locked On Women's Basketball. We are completely independent in terms of all of our content. And that's important to say, because I have nice things to say about the Mystics here. And I want to make sure people understand that it comes from a place of analysis. If you go back and remember, there were 379,000 players who elected not to go into the 2025 WNBA draft. I might be slightly exaggerating the number, but that means that those players are going to potentially be in the 2026 WNBA draft. And from that perspective, that first round pick feels like a really big deal. Am I overstating it, you think?
No, you're not, especially when this trade is going to give the Mystics 3 first round picks. Once again, they had 3 in 2025 with Sonia Citron, Kiki Iriafin, and Georgia Amor. So they're doing the same thing again. Mind you, the Mystics have Minnesota's first rounder, which that's going to be quite low. That will be a low first rounder. They have their own, and then they'll have the Storms as well. And so the thing is, what I'm thinking about is, what if Seattle continues to be just very inconsistent? I mean, right now they are, I believe, 6th in the standings.
They're really bunched together. There is a bunching in this league. I said, and I stand by it. There are clear teams that should buy and clear teams that should sell, but it is based as much as anything on what are their capacities within the playoffs when you get there. You can leave that out of it for a second and say, look, Seattle's 16-13 right now, but the Sparks and the Mystics are 2 games behind them in the loss column right now. And those are the 9th and 10th teams in the league.
Yeah. I mean, the Sparks are a team that is trying to do whatever it takes for them to get back into the playoffs. And so, you know, with this move, you expect that the Mystics are probably now going to slip. And this move tells you that the Mystics do not want to make it into the playoffs. I mean,
I will say this, right? Alicia Clark is a legitimately effective player and somebody who can do some of what Brittney Sykes does for that team right now. Zia Cook is greatly improved from 3-point range Her efficiency was not where it needed to be, which is a nice way of putting it. The first couple of years, she's at 38.2% from three. It's not as if these players, like, I just think it's important to note this, right? Like, we're not denigrating these players for what they're doing. The point is that DC isn't trading for them, really. DC is trading for a couple of players who have expiring contracts that make the numbers work so they can get that first round pick back in exchange for Brittney Sykes. And so I just think that's an important distinction to make. But it's not, hey, the white flag is up and DC is going to be non-competitive for the rest of the year.
I mean, that's not what I'm saying either. I mean, I think so. If the Mystics were very competitive against the Golden State Valkyries, that was sort of a nail biter type game. I think that's more of what this front office wants. They want their team to be competitive, to be exciting, but, you know, it would surprise me if this front office really wants the team to make it into the playoffs.
Sure.
Think about the Indiana Fever before they got Caitlin Clark in the draft.
Yeah.
You know, that was a team, I believe, did they finish in 2023? Did they finish in 9th place?
They played very well down to the wire. In fact, I believe they beat Minnesota in the season finale and showed a lot of strides, but at the same time, yes, did not want to fall out of the 2-year lottery. And no, it makes a lot of sense. And again, in the same way that we're talking about the depth of the 2026 WNBA draft, they're going to have their pick of some of the top potential players coming out if you can be in the lottery. So it makes a big difference without question. Really interesting across the board. Jackie, any sort of final thoughts on how we measure success for each of these moves?
I think also, if we want to talk about the Mystics, I think Alicia Clark's value on the court is also going to be in the locker room. I mean, I think that a young team like this needs her leadership. And I think that's what players like Sonia Citron and Kiki Iriafin, they're really going to benefit from having Alicia Clark, probably one of the best communicators and one of the best defensive minds in the league. So I think when it comes to trying to really build this core of young players that the Mystics have, I mean, you know, spending like 16 games with learning from Alicia Clark, I think that's going to help them a lot.
She can be their vet when they talk about it someday, when they are the vet themselves for young players who come in this league 10 years from now. Totally agree with you, Jackie Powell. Really interesting stuff. Of course, make sure you listen to the Full On podcast as well over at YouTube or wherever you get your podcasts so that you can be ready for tonight's New York versus Dallas game. So much more to come. Until then, as always, thank you, Jackie. Thank you to our listeners. I'm Howard Megdal, wishing all of you a happy trade deadline week. Hang on tight.
You are Locked On Women's Basketball, your daily podcast on women's basketball. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.